Let's discuss the answers to the income statement exercise. Okay, so let's just look at trends in the data. So I'll kick it off with the top line, which is revenue. So it looks like revenue decreased 120,000 or so year over year, down 8%. That's obviously a concern. It's always a concern when revenue declines. Let's take a look at the cost of goods sold, or the cost it took us to produce our stuff. And wow, that's brutal. Okay, look at that. We had an increase of 14% year over year in the cost of goods sold, despite the fact that revenue was down. So obviously that's a concern. The cost to make our product increases despite a decrease in revenue. And then gross profit obviously is down as well, because that's just a formula. That minus that, revenue minus the cost to produce that stuff, or COGS. Concern. Sales and marketing increased at a pace of 17% year over year. Frightening, because revenue is down 8%, but this expense item was up 17% year over year, and it gets worse. R&D was up 33% year over year, despite an 8% decline in revenue. G&A was bad as well. And so what happens is our operating profit margin, or EBITDA, went down from 37% to 20%. Leverage can work against you big time as well. So we have a 50% decline year over year in our operating profit, despite a revenue decline of only 8%. And it looks like we took on more debt here, right? So we're paying $10,000 more in interest. So we had a spike. And so our profit before taxes was down 58% year over year, which is worse than the operating profit year over year decline because of the increase in interest. Okay. And then so our net income was actually down 58% year over year. It was still positive, right? 157,875, but it decreased that much year over year. So ouch. 58% decline year over year in earnings per share, or net income, same thing, or net profit, same thing, despite the fact that revenue is only down 8%. So the results from this exercise is basically the opposite from when we looked at the income statement example, right? In the example, there was no concerns, but in this case, there are many concerns, obviously. So play around with the data, like double click on different entries and just see how we got to those numbers and how all of this flows through. That's the best way for you to really learn and master the whole income statement process. And now that we have this nailed, what we can do is go on to talk about the balance sheet. And then much, much later in the course, after we understand financials perfectly well, we'll talk about modeling, and then we'll talk about valuation, which is a lot of fun.